more. Widesite TV.
A recent report by GWO and GWIC estimated that we need another 170,000 people to join the workforce in order to achieve the global build-out.
Yeah.
How can we ensure that safety and safety training keeps pace with that?
Yeah, that's a very good question. And it's 170,000, mind you, before 2025. So it's in a very, very short time. We're onboarding a lot of people, and there are huge risks of onboarding so many new people onto the wind industry. One answer is, of course, to get more safety training out there. And we have around 400 training centers in 50 countries that are already standing ready to train, and with capacity to train more than they do today. So that's part of the answer, but it's not the whole answer. So there is we have to develop models where we can acknowledge people's competences, those that they come with, and we have to develop models to train people in different ways than we do today.
And sort of on a similar point, obviously there are a lot of industries that are kind of declining. So oil and gas, for example, is smaller than it was. How can we help people transition from those industries into renewables?
I think from me, a big shout out to all of those people who are working in those industries and considering a career in wind and in offshore wind, because we have opportunities for them. And a lot of those people who work in positions in oil and gas rigs or in mining, they have the competences, the basic skills as electricians or as mechanics, mechatronics, engineers. They have all of the professional skills that we need. And we have a program, the basic safety training program, which gives you in 5 days the safety skills that you need to work in our industry. So it's very easy to make the transfer and transition into the industry. So that's just, come on, please. Yeah, you're so welcome. I mean, we do need you, as the question before about the 170,000. This is one of the, we hope to be attractive to those workers in those industries, and they should not be afraid to make the plunge and try out this industry. It is a great place to be.
And thinking about sort of new and emerging markets, what are some of the challenges around safety and safety training?
I think in new and emerging markets, our challenges are not just for safety, but also for quality and for anything. Is that in those markets, we don't have a wind supply chain at all. So the knowledge and the intimacy with the technology is not there. There has to be a very steep learning curve. And we need to train people in all sorts of competences around wind and installations of wind, and safety is being one of them. And from our side, what we do is we try in those countries to approach training centers who are already there, supply training to similar industries, and show them that there is also this opportunity for them on a commercial scale to deliver that training. But I think the question is bigger than just safety training. It is really about the fundamental challenge that we have, growing to, as someone has said at this conference, to 8 terawatts before 2050. It's a massive challenge, bringing so many new people on and making sure that all of those people are managed in the right way, are trained in the right way, feel that it's okay to speak up if something is not right, and that those of us who are older in the industry maintain an open spirit and open mind to also learn from the new people, because they have something to contribute.
And to what extent are you trying to create some kind of standards across geographies that have very different protocols and practices?
We're trying to create a global standard based on the situation and tasks that meets a wind technician when he works in the turbine. And a turbine is a turbine is a turbine anywhere. Regulations around it may be different, but electricity is electricity and is electricity. And falling from a height has the same consequence no matter where you are. So all of those aspects means that when you look at the physics of it and the concrete situations, it's possible to create standards that address those things that are completely common to anyone, whether they are from France or the Faroe Islands or China or Cuba. It's the same situations that you have, and we have, I think, achieved a way or a model where we're not so much relying or leaning on regulation, but rather leaning on what is the actual situation, what are the actual tasks, and what are the actual risks, and how do we look at those, and what do we need to learn. And then on the other side of the house, you have governments that have different forms of regulation, but all of them aim at keeping people safe. And most of them place a responsibility on the employer to demonstrate that they keep people safe. Using these standardized trainings means that, at least for those areas, for those modules, people have learned how to identify the hazards and risks and how to deal with them. And that's usually enough.
We mentioned oil and gas earlier in a different context, but I mean, there's a lot of talk about leaning on oil and gas for learnings and kind of borrowing practices on. What other industries can we borrow or learn from?
We have been leaning on, I don't know how many industries in this industry. I've been with wind industry for about 20 years. Agriculture, a basic thing, because we come in many ways from agriculture. Bonus Energy, who's now Siemens Gamesa, started out as someone creating agricultural equipment, and Vestas is the same, agricultural equipment. So we're leaning from that in the beginning. So moving big machines today in agriculture is something. Oil and gas, of course, but anyone who builds in the maritime space when we talk offshore wind. So marine contractors, bridge builders, port builders, fisheries, all of those. My personal favorites when I'm looking at industries where we really can learn something and we can aspire to do the same is aviation and Formula One. They really have a safety culture where they, across competitors, share data on safety, share learning on safety, do the same things, report into the same systems, and there's a quick turnaround of a lesson that's learned over here to the competitor over there. And that should be an aspiration for our industry if we could.
I mean, ultimately, will we ever reach a point where no one gets hurt working in offshore wind?
I hope so. I mean, we strive towards zero injury, and we have to, because if we don't, we accept that someone gets hurt. And that's not a responsible way of looking at it as an employer, as an industry. We need to strive towards a zero injury industry. And we need to do whatever we can to identify, what is it that, and learn from those incidents where things do go wrong and try to avoid to repeat it. So that's one way of doing it. And then we also need to look at all of those instances where things go well. How do we reinforce that goes well? So there are a couple of ways of working on this, but the bottom line is the same. We're striving towards no injuries.
Energy. Marine. Energy. Power. Widesite TV.